most awesome parts of this summer was watching all of the JRC babies on the grass at the Lakefront Shabbat services. The baby minion crawled across the grass and practiced clapping and playing guitar and exploring from person to person. Most of their parents, in fact, were also JRC babies. And it's been delightful to see the children grow from their baby namings and blessings into their developing personalities. When we welcome a new life into the community, we bless them with this covenant, a life of Torah, chuppah, uma'asim tovim, learning, loving, and changing the world for good. A lot of babies we've welcomed these past 18 months, in backyards and on Zoom, around dining room tables, all sanctuaries in homemade spaces. On these three things, our whole world stands: learning, loving, and changing the world for good. A complete blessing, 3 parts, a Jewish recipe for a life well lived. When we are at the beginning of our lives, when we make the commitment to raise or parent a person through their lives, the road ahead is long-term. In the future, there will be school and learning traditions, a trade, new skills. Developmental growth and knowledge is a lifelong pursuit. Building relationships, experiencing love, finding friendships, a partner, that all happens over time. Repairing the brokenness in our world, for many of us, is our essential teaching. Be a good human, seek justice, work for freedoms. All aspirational, the wishes for a life of meaning and blessings. And at the time of major life transitions, having a baby, starting a new job, moving to a new house, sanctifying our love, these are moments when we need big aspirational blessings indeed. But at the head of the year such as this one, the transitions to newness are not so clear. This year is so uncertain. We did not think we would be here again. The pandemic seems to be getting worse, not better. We had a few moments, a few weeks of relief this summer, and now the dread of the virus variants is putting our optimism on the shelf. I don't have to list for you what is heavy and wrong right now, whether it's across the world, such as we heard from Iman, or climate crisis, attack on reproductive rights, threats to democracy, voting rights. The instability and unpredictability is ever present. And as my friend and colleague, Rabbi Josh Lesser, said to me, this feels like standing on Jell-O. Just when we find our balance, a foot sinks, the ground too wobbly to stand firmly. How do we get unstuck? How in this fresh new year, when we say today the world is born, Hayom Harat Olam, can we find new ground to stand on when everything feels uncertain? How could we possibly feel the renewal that we need? Pirkei Avot, the sayings of the ancestors, teaches that foundation. It's found in the Mishnah, the 6 books of oral law, which follows the written Torah text. The Torah prescribes Rosh Hashanah and other holidays and observances and the laws, but the Mishnah is the text, which teaches how we're actually supposed to live that calendar into reality. As we grasp for a foundation that is more solid and perhaps less sticky than Jell-O, we stand on our Judaism. Yehoshua ben Paracha Omer, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Parachia in Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, verse 6 taught, Aseh lecha rav, uknei lecha chaver, vehevei dan et kol ha'adam lechaf zechut. Make for yourself a rabbi, acquire for yourself a companion, and judge every person favorably. These 3 things: a teacher for learning, a friend for love and relationship, and the benefit of the doubt for everyone. This is our foundation. Aseh lecha rav. Make for yourself a rabbi, a rav, more aptly, a teacher. Who have been your most significant teachers this year? Where did you learn? And how did you grow? What did you learn? Teachers help us become our very best selves. They inspire. They show us that we do not yet know everything, and that is a good thing. They also remind us how much we actually do know, and that we can do, inspiring confidence and security. Great teachers and mentors are the mirrors which show us both our own potential and our own reality. The Mishnah's verb choice here is particular. It doesn't say get or find or even listen to, but aseh, make a teacher. It implies that we have the ability to turn anyone into our teacher. We just have to be open to learning from them. As Ben Zoma is quoted in Pirkei Avot, who is wise? The one who learns from everyone. Learning a new thing, be it a skill, an instrument, a new understanding or perspective, is essential to the evolution of our brains and our capacity to grow. The pursuit of learning, not the idea that we have gained all the knowledge and now are done, is the lesson. Each time we engage our brains and stretch our skills, we are pushed a little more out of the uncertainty and into knowing something more solid. This is about small goals, not an advanced degree. As we take care of our bodies and our hearts and our brains and our souls this year, let renewal be found in learning. Be it a craft, how to fix something in your home, even if you use YouTube, cook a new recipe. Learn about what Judaism says about how to donate money and then give to help. Learn how to tie tzitzit or build a sukkah. Join our brand new adult Brit Mitzvah cohort. The 100th anniversary of the Bat Mitzvah year is this year. Our brand new adult Brit Mitzvah cohort starts every Tuesday night in October. Ask a friend to recommend a book, one book, or an episode of a podcast. Start small. That will open your mind to a new way of understanding a concept that you have struggled with this year. Learn something in a new way. Torah, or learning, it is the tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and its supporters just might be happy. Ukne lecha chaver, acquire for yourself a friend. Chaver can be translated as friend, as it is in modern Hebrew and at summer camp. It can also mean a member of an organization or of government, but its meaning is so much deeper. The Mishnah is not instructing us to create a social network or a group of dinner companions or people to play games with, but rather to bring into our lives a profound relationship. The verb kaneh, to acquire, is actually the same verb we use in a wedding ring ritual when we exchange our rings. We don't acquire people in the sense of ownership or obeying, but we make a public, mutual commitment to receive and to give. When Jews study text, we do so in pairs. Chavruta, the relationship in which we sit together to explore teachings, is this kind of committed relationship. The house of study or Beit Midrash, picture the scene of Yentl or yeshiva students who are loudly debating over Talmud points. That's its locus. A chavruta, more than even a best friend, is someone who sees the world from a different place than you do, and who is committed to you anyway. When we each bring our own perspective to the matter in front of us, the goal is not to try to change your chavruta's mind, but actually to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough, egoless enough, for your own heart to be opened and your own mind to be changed. How often do we enter a relationship like that? Who could be your chavruta this year? Chavruta is about dedication to a common cause, shared goals, to vision and ideals. That common cause could be our own survival, our own mental health, or our own growth. For on this profound day of Rosh Hashanah, we plead for our lives. To be in a chavruta relationship is to invite someone into a deep and exposed part of our heart and trust that they will be there to do the same. In the writings of Avot de Rabbi Natan, the instructions are direct. How does one acquire such a friend? A person should acquire a friend for himself by eating and drinking with them, by studying Torah and debating with them, by lodging with them, by sharing private thoughts with them. And when they debate matters of importance, this friend will respond, and thus the bonds of friendship and truth will be strengthened. It is hard for adults to make friends, and especially hard to make new friends. You might have someone in your life who will be your chavruta, or perhaps this year you'll seek someone new. Maybe you'll engage in our adult learning at JRC to find a chavruta. Our framework for learning at JRC this year will focus on this partner learning to engage with issues like spirituality, resiliency, racial justice and anti-Semitism and privilege, immigrant justice, grief, Israel-Palestine, and other topics that are meaningful and passion-filled for us. Do you have something you want to study? Let me know. Sometimes you might know your chavruta, or perhaps you'll be looking to pair up with someone and you want us to help. Sometimes you even want to be paired with someone with whom you've had conflict. Rabbi Rachel Adler, feminist
channel, the biggest moment ever.
Oh. Rabbi Rachel Adler, feminist theologian and scholar, writes, the very structure of the chavruta relationship and the nature of its boundaries present a Jewish model for relationship between self and other. In this relationship, people experience each other as a whole, rather than fragmented beings. To be chaverim is to be neither fused nor counterposed, but juxtaposed. The root of that word chaver means to join together at the boundaries, the sacred space where the edges rub or spark and soften, a grounding force in this uncertain time that we live in. Let connecting, finding a chavruta, finding a partner, be one role that being Jewish plays in your life. Judaism's core teachings show us that we can't be Jewish alone. JRC member Cece Lobin taught our JRC board as part of the Congregational Anti-Racism Audit and Task Force. The relationships we have with each other are the foundational elements of creating an equitable world. The foundational elements that we all have an opportunity to engage with. Whether we are working for justice, looking to grow in our Jewish knowledge or our secular learning, or simply to be less lonely, the chavruta relationship helps us get unstuck. As Ecclesiastes teaches, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up their fellow. And if one forgets, their friend will help them remember. What one misses, the other will help them reveal. V'chevei dan et kol ha'adam l'chaf zechut. Judge each person accordingly with a compassionate hand. In other words, give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Be kind, for everyone is struggling right now. I don't know anyone who isn't having a hard time. Anyone. Everyone is struggling in some way. On my bookshelf in my home sanctuary, the corner of my home where I have led Shabbat services almost every week this year, is an embroidered painting that Kai Wolfman made for me, inspired by a holiday sermon a few years ago. It reads, "In a world with no humanity, be human. Be human." Judaism was a radical invention at its time for many reasons, but one of its radical creations was to center our values on love. At the heart of Torah, we read, "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha." You shall love your fellow human being as you love yourself. This verse compels us to act with kindness, and it compels and implies that we are commanded to love ourselves. There is a natural human tendency toward defensiveness, to jump to conclusions, to judge. I know that feeling, perhaps you do as well, of wanting to be right, or believing in the right way that I learn to see a situation such that I become blind to seeing it differently. But our texts teach us a new way to be, to break with the status quo. This text would not have to center Torah in kindness and love if there weren't examples at the time it was written of the opposite. I wish those trends were different now. Rabbi Tamar Elad Applebaum comments on this teaching, "Find a place in your heart dedicated to believing in the inviolate worth of the human being with all its inherent foibles and flaws. This does not happen on its own. but only as one devotes oneself to the slow and deliberate construction of a palpable connection to a fellow human being. Rabbi Nachman of Braslav taught, we must train ourselves to look for the good in other people. But after honing this process on others, he said, we must then use it on ourselves as well. Love your fellow human as you love yourself. In this year of uncertainty and struggle, have you looked for the good in others? Have you given people whose lives you have only seen on the outside the benefit of the doubt? And in this year of incredible challenges, have you looked for the good parts in yourself and judged yourself kindly? On this first day of a new year, this first step into clean slate, dedicated to accountability, mindfulness, working for wholeness, how might you challenge yourself to more compassion? Learning, loving, and changing the world for good. Call it a recipe or a seed that we plant. Learn how to water it so we can hold onto it concretely. See what blossoms. Seek a chavruta, a person to open your heart with in struggle and in stretch and in trust. And presume good intentions and kindness, for we all need compassion and life is hard. As we reach for solid ground, let the sweetness come from apples and honey and learning and loving and doing good, not from sticky and wobbly jello. May these ancient foundations be the firmness that holds us as we stumble into this new year. May we do so together, learning, loving, and changing the world for good.